Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's VC Task Force Gary's Picks event for investors and startups. My name is Joel Rosenberg, Director of Business Development and Strategy for VC Task Force. VC Task Force is an organization where the venture community comes together to address critical issues, provide workshops, and other events for the benefit of the venture and entrepreneurial communities. VC Task Force provides access to an extensive ecosystem of VCs, CVCs, and angel investors. You may ask questions anytime during the event, and time permitting, they will be answered live after today's interview. It is my pleasure to welcome Gary's Picks host, Gary Fowler. Gary is CEO and co-founder of GSD Venture Studios, an award-winning growth stage AI venture studio. Gary is also co-founder of the award-winning AI startup, Yva.ai, as well as the investment firm, DY Investments. Today, Gary will be interviewing special guest, Dhruv Davar, founder and CEO of Virtual Console. The enterprise metaverse has arrived, activating communities and enabling self-expression like never before. Virtual Console defines how companies innovate as the synthesis between humans and technology continues to progress. Collaboration and engagement with Virtual Console allow an experimental approach to the problem solving and true presence in a virtual office that can be personalized for corporate clients. Dhruv is a serial entrepreneur who has engaged upwards of 1 million professionals globally through physical and digital event technologies. He is skilled in experiential marketing, business development, marketing strategy, customer relationship management, and live events. A stickler for perfection, an ex-cricketer, Dhruv believes he had learned his value system in the sports field. Prior to Virtual Console, Dhruv led creativity and innovation at Inexus as CEO, leading the team to several awards. Take it away, Gary.
Great to be here. Thanks, Joel. Thanks, June, and the entire VC Task Force team for making Gary's Picks possible. Dhruv, it's great to have you here today. And so I got a question. Now, how in the world, you're the first professional cricket player that I've ever met, and especially when it became a professional at 15. How did you do that?
So, thank you so much, Gary, and thank you so much, June and Joel, for the warm introduction. So, I think, as a kid, like all kids, I had a lot of energy. So my dad kept putting me into different things, So he tried me in swimming, he tried me in judo, I remember. But when I was doing those karate moves, I used to practice on my cousins, so they realized
Well,
it's not.
they're the best ones to practice on, huh? Especially when you do a little harder than normal. They don't generally hit you back as hard.
Yeah, so so my family's like, okay, that's not going really well. So finally, he took me to this stadium in Delhi in India. There was trials happening. I went through. I got selected. So I started my journey at, I think I was 8 years old, actually, not 9. I was 8 years old. I started playing cricket, and by the time I turned 15, I could turn pro. So I played state level, and I think it was one of those beautiful 7-8 years of my life.
Now, okay, so what's the deal with the pro cricket player? Is it like the baseball players here, or what happens? Because you never hear of a baseball player going pro at 15.
No,
What do you do?
so basically what happens is that it used to be at 17, 18 years old earlier, but back when I was playing, they started under 15 as a segment, wherein different states within the country are competing against each other, and they started picking up professional players. So you were literally paid for playing at that time. So I think that's how it starts in India. It starts young, and I think that cricket is a religion in the country. So that's how it started, and I think it's good to start at an early age, no?
Now, I got a question for you. Do people want to get their autographs and pictures taken with you?
I wish it would have happened. I wish I would have continued playing, but unfortunately, when I was at my peak, Gary, I got seriously sick. I got jaundice and stuff like that, and I had to sort of leave it. But maybe in another lifetime I will get there.
Oh, wow. So tell me, so you had your first entrepreneurial venture at 24, and then that turned into the best marketing startup of India. What was that all about?
So I started an experiential marketing agency, so which was primarily, solving problems with an experiential solution. So it could be anything. It could be an employee engagement, it could be a launch, it could be anything that an enterprise customer thinks of, but he wants to add that experience. Like I remember back in the day, I convinced a Fortune 500 company CEO to do his presentation with a stand-up comedian, and he said, "Why?" I said, "Because your audience is going to be more engaged." So I think so. That's how it started.
You put it as what, a startup comedian, did you say?
Stand-up comedian, yes.
Yeah.
So
Who was the
yeah.
stand-up? Your person that was doing the presentation, or another comedian came in?
No, so the CEO, the managing director of a large Fortune 500 company in India, was supposed to do a presentation, and I was able to convince him to do a presentation with a stand-up comic.
And how
Okay.
was that? Was it funny?
It was so cool, because he was asking all the relatable question, and he was too direct, right? Because otherwise in the audience nobody will ask questions to your CEO, and that happened, and we realized that the result was so engaging, right? That it actually picked up as a concept, and it was practiced across multiple number of times in that company, and beyond that company. So I think that went off pretty well, and from there I think the customers and the enterprises have started opening up to more and more things, doing things differently. So our idea was to add experience to anything that we do, like I said, from a launch to also activating and making a customer. So let's say if you're launching a car, right? Okay, you can put billboards and everything, but you want to experience the car, right? And there's certain places that you couldn't take the car, so that's where technology came in, right? So with technology you could make them experience either through VR or something else, right? So that was the whole concept of Annextus, and we were quite successfully able to do a bunch of things under that.
No, that's great. Okay, so then you're nominated for the Business World 40 under 40 at 31. And how was that? Did you win?
No. I was nominated, I was shortlisted. I think they had a list of about, I think I made it to the cutoff, I don't know, about the last 100, 120, there was something like that. And I missed it by an edge. So I think that's the closest that I got there.
No, well, at least you got there. So when you went to university, to Apogee, Jay, School of Management, and then you started, how did you get in the event space? What made you decide that you did freelancing and then you went to Encompass? So how did you get into that?
I was doing engineering, Gary, and I realized that it wasn't something that I was really getting passionate about. I used to see a lot of my family members who were doing the 9 to 5 desk job, and I realized that I still had a lot of energy. I still wanted to do things differently, and I think I also had an entrepreneurial drive. Even when I was in college. In fact, I was in my school when I started organizing events and started doing different things, right? So I was very clear that I don't want to have a desk job from 9 to 5, which I'm not very passionate about, and then go home. And you just come out of school and now you're excited. I wanted to have fun. And I wanted to enjoy what I do. And it was just a fleeting conversation with the person. It was literally like a 5-minute conversation with the person, because when I was in my fourth year, I was very clear that I'm not going to take up an engineering job. I want to do something different. And I was looking for ideas, things around, and nobody in my family is an entrepreneur. So I'm the first generation entrepreneur across the family, the length and the breadth. Everybody's a professional. So it's just a fleeting conversation with the gentleman. He painted a very rosy picture of the industry, which trust me, it was nothing like that. It was a lot of hard work, like I think, like in every industry, and so much to learn and do. But I was convinced, and it was just like that. I finished my engineering, and then I started applying for jobs, and then there was a big event in India happening at that point of time called the Commonwealth Games. So I was lucky to get an internship into that event. So I saw the largest possible event in India at that point in time. I did well, worked for a year, and then started my own company.
Wow, that's great. So tell us a little bit about So you went into Nexus events, and that you're the CEO of Nexus. So you've stopped that. So what is an Nexus about? It says experiential. What's an experiential marketing agency?
So like I was telling you, like I was telling you a couple of minutes back, that it's basically about, whether you, so there is a lot of events or activations that get organized with every launch, with everything that an enterprise customer wants to do. What we're responsible is to add experience to it, whether it's physical, whether it's digital, whether it's through technology, so that's why we with the next is that's what I used to do. I used to add in that experience, whether it's having a stand up do it, or getting a VR headgear, or things like, we've actually had those cardboard headgears being distributed across the country, during certain launches, so that people could just sit at their home and experience a new car launch or things like that, right? So that's basically what it was all about.
So why would you leave? Because you were there from 2013 to you just recently left. Why would you leave? It sounds like that would be fun.
So the thing is that, so in the lockdown, I sort of met Akil, who's my co-founder now at Virtual Console, and I told him that, Akil, I have this idea. My life's mission has been about engaging professionals, engaging people. I've been fortunate enough to probably engage more than 1 million people, but I want to expand this horizon. So I sort of mentioned this idea to him that, how about taking it completely digitally, and having and global market, right? And I remember asking him that, would you like to be my mentor in this journey? And he comes back to me, writes back to me saying, screw that, I want to be a co-founder. And that's how the journey started with Virtual Console. And the last 1 year, it's done so well that I wanted to give it complete focused, towards Virtual Console, and that's how it started. And I think Inextus by now has got its successors, and it can run without me with my blessings, and I'm completely focused on Virtual Console.
So tell us a little bit about Virtual Console. Exactly what do you do, and what kind of market are you going after? What do you want to accomplish? Raising money? I mean, talk about it.
So, so it literally happened like this, Gary, that I was taking a flight from Bombay to Delhi, and I was in the flight, and usually, how you have these safety briefing announcements that start, right? And I just noticed that there's no air hostess doing that announcement, and I was just, how we all are, I was sending those last minute emails and last minute messages in my phone, and there's a video that starts playing ahead of me in the screen, and after a few seconds it catches my attention, and when I started looking at the video, it was actually a safety briefing announcement video being performed by a yoga practitioner, and not
How
only
was
was
that?
it was so cool. It actually, I actually started recording it. I was so fascinated by it. I actually started recording the entire video, and so she's not only telling you about the safety briefing announcement, but she's also giving you, adding some yoga poses to it, and so much more to it, that you are glued to it. The first thing I do after the video ends, that I tie my seat belt, right? Because you're so into it, and that's the way you respect the video, first of all. And I actually start having a conversation with my co-passenger, who was actually, he's a member of parliament in India, and we just actually get into a conversation. That's a separate story, that he turns out to be a client for Virtual Console now, but it's thanks to that. But so when that whole thing ended, I realized that, what did that do? It just basically engaged me, right? It engaged me, it opened my brain to a better message delivery, and the message got delivered loud and clear, right? So that
So
literally.
why, Dhruv, why is that? Did that keep your attention as opposed to a normal video? What was about that kept your attention? I understand the yoga thing, but what enchanted you about that?
I think, for me, I think it's an excellent question, and I think for me, Gary, it was a combination of things, right? The novelty factor, B, how immersive it was, the way the content was done. I think all of these things, and I being coming from somebody, I'm somebody who is obsessed with great aesthetics and experiential solutions to problems. For me, it was like an instant connect, right? And it was not just me, like I said, even people around had that connect. Everybody may have their own reasons for it, but mine were these, right? And it was something that I was anyways working on in my head about, right? So I had that instant connection. And the moment you're like you and I are into this conversation right now, right? Nothing else matters, right? So there's so much openness that you have for the message delivery, so both incoming and outgoing right now. And I think that's what it did for me. All right. And I remember, and I landed at midnight in Delhi, and I sent a video to Akil, and I said, Akil, I think this is our calling. And I was doing research throughout the night, because I realized one very simple thing, Gary, that if I was so engaged by this video, and it did XYZ that it did for me, how big a problem of engagement would exist in the new hybrid world, right? This was just a thought that I started living with. I reached home. I started researching. I remember reaching home at by 12:31 a.m. and I started researching. I was researching till 6 in the morning, and my research stopped at there's a Gallup's data that says that 80% of the employees today are not engaged at their workplaces. And then so much more happening that we can talk about it later. The next morning I got up. I prepared a dipstick analysis and I sent it out to our customers. And when I sent it out to our customers, I got such an amazing insight. So it was basically about how's life with the virtual world, how life with the hybrid world, how are you connecting with people. So we had a few questions, and a couple of customers actually called me, and they said that, Dhruv, what's happening is that and I knew somebody. So she had joined a new company, and she said, Dhruv, I come on a Zoom call, I come on a video call, I do the call, I get the work done, and I've been in this company for about more than a year now, but I don't have a relation with anybody. I come, I get the job done, but if I have to call them at 10 p.m. and if it's something urgent, even after a year, I still feel awkward, right? And that's something which is very beautifully put. I was reading something by Satya Nadella at Microsoft. He's very beautifully put that there are strong ties and weak ties, right? So the strong ties are getting stronger and the weak ties are getting weaker, right? So all of this put together, made us solve the problem of engagement, problem of productivity, which is where we came up with Virtual Console, which is actually an enterprise metaverse for holistic employee engagement. Because while metaverse, has so many use cases, I think that employee engagement, especially in the enterprise space, is one of the biggest and the most useful use case of metaverse, and which is what we're exploring, and which is what we've been very successfully so far been able to do, and are hoping to make it big in the same space.
So tell us a little bit about, what does a typical customer look like, and what do you do for them?
So a typical customer for us is currently our target audience is enterprises. So it's primarily any corporate with literally any size, though we are targeting, and we've been fortunate enough to work with certain large enterprises in India and across the world. So a typical customer looks like that. And the problem that we solve for them is the problem of engagement. So we started with a product which was very simple about doing a one-off engagement with the customers, and it's transforming to a point wherein we've got annual subscribers, wherein we've created a sort of an employee engagement. Some are even feeling that it's sort of become like a virtual office for them, wherein now your avatar.
What exactly do you do? Walk us through what you're doing. Is it a virtual background? How does it work? In what ways does it impact that client?
Sure. So basically what we do, Gary, is that so you see the background behind me. So it becomes like you enter in, and it becomes like your lobby, right? So you enter in and you enter your, let's say Kotak Bank is a client, so you enter Kotak Bank's lobby. And from there, now there are various things that are designed. So for example, we'll have an auditorium wherein an event is happening. We have a gaming zone wherein an HR is probably running competitions, and then we have so much more happening at the same point, right? So that's basically how, so it could be a one-off engagement wherein you're just doing a specific event that you've done, or it could be like, for example, what we're doing Kotak Bank is that it's something that people have started using almost every day, wherein they're attending meetings. So we've got meeting rooms, they're attending meetings. We've got a networking zone wherein everybody has their profile. And so one of the beautiful things that we actually got a feedback was that, so the CEO of this large public company was talking, and he told me, he said, Dhruv, if I was talking in a physical world, nobody would really talk back, but now you have a chat, you have a chat feature wherein people were writing to me, and I could click on them and I could go on their profile, and I could actually see if some people were interesting, and I could schedule a one-on-one call with them, right? So all of that is what the platform does, in ways wherein the idea, the core message is that, we want to make them more engaging and more productive.
And how many customers do you have today?
So in terms of the enterprise customers, we've got more than 35 enterprise customers. These are large customers. We've got customers wherein they have a strength of more than 60,000 people. And so it ranges anywhere between probably a 5,000 upwards to a 60,000 plus is our largest customer.
That's great. So what do you want to do with it? It sounds like you've started in India doing a good job. What are the plans for the future?
So what we're doing, Gary, is that, so we've got clients in India, certain clients in Asia. So now the natural step is that, so it's a twofold strategy that we started our product with more of a weekly use product, if I could say that it was accessed only if you had to engage onto something. Now we've added certain features which are now become a daily use product. So on the product side, that's what we're doing. We're making it much more
What
immersive.
about daily use? What do you mean? Because you have these events, but what does daily use mean? How do you engage those customers?
Yeah. So basically on the daily use, what we started doing is that we started creating meeting rooms, Gary. Okay. So the core essence of our metaverse is connect and collaborate. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically collaboration. So basically when you and I have meetings, our avatars are attending a very 3D immersive space. We're doing a meeting. At the same time, we've got so imagine this, okay, you and I are in a meeting, I present my deck, I've got these 3D tools, we've got whiteboards, we've got every possible thing, that you and I can access together and make it much more productive. And then you say, hey, but Dhruv, I have some questions. And I said, hey, you know what? Come and meet me at the ping pong table, play a game with me while we can discuss the presentation. So
now,
that's
this is a virtual ping pong table.
Yes.
Can you play ping pong on it?
Yeah, you can.
That's great.
So that's where the connection comes in, because we very strongly feel that the productivity is a factor of both collaboration and connection. The human connection is also very, very important, right? So this is how we're making it a daily product. Now, what is happening on top of it is that we're also giving ideas to the HRs. So they're saying, hey, in the month of July, we're actually going to have a ping pong tournament, right? So there's a leaderboard that gets made, right? So the top 3 people win XYZ prizes, right? And in the next month, probably we'll have a chess tournament. So, so that keeps you more engaged. So that makes you also, even in that part of it, you could do that. Then we've got something called as a lunchroom, right? So in the lunchroom, if you're there, right? So your manager knows, Dhruv is at lunch, so I'm not going to bother him. Right. And at the same time, if I'm at lunch table, I could meet Gary or I could meet somebody else and I can start having a conversation right then and there. It's a spatial audio system, right? So every space has its own audio, so you're not disturbing each other, right? So that's how we're slowly coming and making it a daily use product. So it's sort of a replacement of multiple other apps and softwares that enterprises are using right now, and just getting everything onto the metaverse. So from an individual's profile, so when I literally make an avatar there, I have my profile also, I can have a link to my LinkedIn, I can write things about me, etc, etc. Another interesting thing, Gary, that we're doing with the product is that we're taking care of the employer-employee and the employee-employee connection. So what we do is, so we've got a very interesting feature that let's say Gary helped me put together a presentation. Okay, so I can actually put a badge on Gary's avatar that says save the day, so basically Gary saved the day for me, right? And if 5 of us or 6 of us do that on your avatar, and if somebody clicks on your avatar and you can see all of that, that means Gary is a go-to person, right? So even if somebody doesn't know you, in the office, he can approach you saying, hey, you seem like a guy who's a little more approachable, and this is my problem. Can you solve it for me? So that's basically the transition that we're having from a weekly use product to a daily use product.
Got it. All right. Well, we're coming to the top of the show. What are your final thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
So the final thoughts are, like, I think Bill Gates had said that in 3 years most of the meetings are going to happen in the metaverse. I think they'll be sooner than that, and I think we're going through, there are two mega trends happening right now, Gary. One is the hybrid work. I think it's changing structurally everything that organizations stand for. And the second, what the LinkedIn CEOs put together was the great reshuffle, right? Wherein people are questioning why they work instead of not just where they work, right? So I think this is the time when enterprises, the engagement and empathy is at the heart of everything that every large enterprise thinks of. And this is what the problem that we're solving with Virtual Console. So we're like I said, we're a enterprise for holistic employee engagement, which takes care of all of this and more. And I can be reached on my email ID, which is dhruv.davar@thevirtualconsole.com.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody for a great show, Dhruv. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank the entire VC Task Force team for making another edition of Gary's Picks possible. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the CEO, president, co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio. So great to be here, Joel.
Thank you both for an excellent discussion today. Very timely. Virtual Console is, I think, something that's highly relevant to many of our listeners and of course, other folks out there as well. We hope to see you guys back here in 2 weeks. See everybody else back in 2 weeks. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you then. Okay.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.